Hi, I'm Butner, and I love this life.
We're here in, where are we?
Clarksville, Indiana.
Clarksville, Indiana.
Yes.
Yes. So is Clarksville home for you? Is this where you grew up?
Clarksville's close to home, so tight community here. Louisville, Kentucky, across the big city, right? Across the river. Then we have these little towns, New Albany, Indiana, Floyd's Knobs, Indiana, then Clarksville. So grew up in Floyd's Knobs, Indiana. Been here my whole life. It's about 15 miles from here, up on the hill, so we kind of look down over top of everything. Yeah, been here my whole life.
And we're sitting here at Jim Butner Auto. This is the business that your dad started.
Yeah, he started very small. He worked for a car dealership in the early 50s. Started his own deal in 1955 down the road in New Albany. Little bitty 2-room brick building. Decided that there's a lot of good people that maybe had some credit problems. So he decided way back then how people that couldn't get finance because a lot of banking and stuff were tough, and they went through a lot of stuff. But he decided he would stand behind them and finance them himself. So he started with nothing, absolutely just nothing, and just worked his way up. And we have had such a following since 1955. And this is our second location from the first. He built this with a couple old trailers with gravel lots. That's what this whole place was, full. I mean, probably 300 cars out there, just stacked where you couldn't even walk between them. And so many people would come in, and of course the sales were in the front, and in the rear was where you collect payments. And so many people would come in and make payments, they actually wore the concrete steps off walking up to the trailer. So he had a good niche of just helping good people, and he's taught me that you don't look at a credit score. People aren't paper. So we actually still to this day set one-on-one with each person to make every deal. It's not a credit score. It's not who you didn't pay or who you do pay. It's all about that. And we're pretty good at, I mean, there are some con people, but don't get me wrong, but pretty much there's a lot of good people that's had some credit problems.
No matter what kind of condition somebody's in, you're able to kind of figure out a way to help them out a little bit?
Yeah, and what we try to do is, which we've all needed this help before, sometimes you don't really know how much you have coming in and what you have going out. So a lot of people will say, yeah, I can pay you $500 a month. Well, we try to sit down with them and say, hey, you know, looking at your bills, and you got to include insurance, cost of living, I mean, and upkeep. You mean I might need to be $250 or $300, so let's get you in something like that. And a lot of them take that great. I mean, because especially some of the generations, they just want. Doesn't matter. We don't care what it costs. But we try to steer them in the right way. And don't get me wrong, I want to keep them as customers forever. But hopefully by the time they buy 1 or 2 cars here, they can go anywhere and have a reputation of paying. And that's all anybody wants. But still, when we're still small, and when you're in the big corporate world, they try to go to banks. It's all about paper.
Did you get to spend time working with your dad? You grew up here in the dealership.
Yes, I grew up from a very young age, probably 5-year-old on. He would travel all over Indiana, Anderson, Indiana, Muncie, Indiana. We'd travel everywhere going to auctions. My mom, myself being young, and him. And we'd spend the night at motels, and I'd go to auctions with him at the age of 5. So I was actually buying for our dealership at the age of 15. So I had to have a guy work for us, drive me to all the auctions, and I wasn't old enough to drive. And I'd go to some of these auctions and buy 30 to 50 cars. And they're wondering, how is this young kid buying so many cars? And what we learned in our business is, first of all, there's nothing on my lot that I won't drive personally, because why should I expect somebody to want to buy it if I won't drive it? So, and you can't pay too much for a good car. It changes the profit margins a lot, but you have to have a good car, and you have to have something desired. Because these people, a lot of people live week to week, and part of living is their car payment. But my goal is I don't want them working for their car payment. You know what I mean? They still have to have a life. And so that's worked out good for us, and it's just sitting on the one-on-one and so many relationships we built. I mean, these customers are like family members to us. They watch all my racing. They tell me how, no, that girl sure got you off the line, or that young Tanner kid got you this and that. I mean, but it's a lot of fun, and it's a big racing fan world here around here, and it's neat to be a part of that too.
And as I understand it, it's continued on to the next generation. Your son is part of this operation now, right?
Yes, my son's definitely, as I've been pro stock racing the last 5.5 years, I mean, he's really had to step up. But and not only him, I mean, he does the dealing up front, but it's such a group around back. From a lot of family members to just a lot of friends been with us forever, which we all consider family. But my mom, she's 82. She's still involved every day. And I'm keeping her home during this whole pandemic deal, which is killing her because she will show up every day. Likes to say hi to people. A lot of the customers like to come say hi to her, but she's still very much involved. I've got a sister that actually lives with her since my father passed, and she runs all the HR, pays all the bills where I spend all the money. So all that works good. And then we have Christy. You all might know her, from Randi Lyn's sister. She's a big part of my Bow Nose, which is my second location. And she does a lot of title work. And it's just such a good group of people. I have a service shop with 5 guys. My daughter, my youngest daughter, just stepped up, and she actually runs it now. So, and my oldest son will tell you, she knows more about cars than I do. So, and she actually does. She does very well. But it's good to have people you depend on. And then I've missed spending this time with them for the last 5 years being on the road. And this little offset time we've had, I look at it as maybe for everybody, God's gave us a reset button. So maybe it's time we sit back and you figure out what's really important in life. So it's good I love the fans. I love the racing. I love our racing family. It's a lot of fun, but I have missed these people I missed out on.
A year ago, you almost imposed your own reset button and you'd announced your retirement, and then all at once, here you are again.
Yeah, that was, my mind was made up, probably middle of the season, and as it got closer, I was okay with it. I mean, it actually came till the Sunday of Pomona at the end of the year, and my mom always comes out to the last race, and we go to the banquet, and she's, a lot of the fans comes up, she loves to tell me, hey, somebody's out here, they need a hero card signed or something. And we're sitting on a golf cart, and she says, you sure you want to give this up right now? I'm like, do what? Because out of all the people, for one, she never wanted me to run 200 mile an hour or anything. Okay, she always had these rules that we've managed to kind of break a little bit. But she enjoys it, enjoys talking to people, and it's just like being here, just seeing the new people. They all have a story, and you learn a lot, and I enjoy it. But that time's coming close again, and I just had a grandson last year. He turned 1 through this, so we couldn't even really have a party for him. But a lot of stuff's changing. I definitely think racing's going to change probably forever in certain ways. So we'll see what happens. But NHR has been great to me. The folks at Mellow Yellow have treated me good. They put a lot of faith into me for some reason, some country boy from Indiana. But I get a lot of calls from them on what's going on, how we're doing, and it's been cool. The sponsors, the Strut Masters came on board this year. Chip's a great guy. And I've never been one to ever go out and really look for sponsors. I mean, I'll take some help, don't get me wrong, but I've always had my dad's name on the side of all my cars from day one. And then Chip came along and we made a deal, but it's just a good group of people we're around all the time. So I get along with all of them so far.
So far.
Yeah.
Well, aside from the car dealership, tell me a little bit about your dad. What do you remember about him growing up?
Well, I hear stories because he was a little older. I mean, I have some half brothers and half sisters, of course, but I'm 15 years younger than the next one. So my mom and he met. They were both married prior, but got a good tight family, kind of like Brady Bunch, 3 and 3 or however that was. But then that came along. So I don't know if I was an accident. I'm not sure. I probably wasn't planned. So, but growing up, he was very fortunate. He started from nothing. He made a good living, but he never let us know that. I mean, it was tight. I mean, he didn't spend any money. He'd reinvest. He'd reinvest in his company. And I remember he'd show up with a new car every now and then at home. But like if we go get ice cream, like my mom tells me time they went and got ice cream, she wanted a waffle cone. Well, he wouldn't pay the difference for a waffle cone over a regular cone. He said, you don't need that. And then as I get older, been times like, hey, I like to get a new couch for my house. And he'd be the type, well, what's wrong with your old couch? And do you need to spend the money? And that's coming from nothing because he and his mom and dad split up. There's 4 of them, four sons, 2 twins, and then he had an older brother. They split up. My dad and the older brother moved down here with my grandpa, which was a parole officer down here. Then my other two stayed up in Indianapolis. So they're originally from Indianapolis. My other two uncles were twins with their mom. But my grandpa couldn't handle them because my oldest uncle was wild. He was like I used to be when I drank. And this is what's funny. His name was Bob Butner. Everybody called me Bob back then for some reason, because B.O. then Butner. So I was known as Bob when I drank a lot and partied. So it's kind of a funny story too. But my grandpa couldn't handle him, so he put him like in an orphanage. Well, about 2 weeks, my dad ran away every night and would show back up at my grandpa's house. So my dad was the type that actually went right here local to New Albany High School. And just a neat freak. I mean, you could see some of his cars and he would die. You saw how dusty he was because he would just die because he's the type that would wear a really nice shirt, but it would be hung up in his car going to high school, and he wouldn't put his shirt on until he got out. I mean, no wrinkles. Everything had to be perfect. But that's the way he lived his life. But he came, again, from nothing. And I think once you work for that and you have to build it, it probably means something different for you. But I've been fortunate. I've been able to have what I want. But now getting older and having the kids and having a grandkid, you do see where you have to still work hard and keep your stuff nice. And luckily that all of mine have pretty much picked up on that also. But it's just a different generation out there. It's tough.
Your birth certificate doesn't say Bo.
No. Bo, I'm actually James Earl Butner III. My dad was a junior. My grandpa was a senior. To get it even more complicated, well, first of all, my son is the fourth. My new grandson is the fifth. So there's 5 of us. To be more complicated, my older brother that passed last year was a James Butner, but he had a different middle name. He also had a son named James Butner, Jr. for him. So if you ever heard of George Foreman, I'm sure you have. Well, he named like all of his kids George. So we were all James, but we all went by different. I went by Jim or Jimmy in school. And then as I got older, my grandma would call me Jimbo. Well, I was a huge Dukes of Hazzard fan. I mean, like an unbelievable Dukes of Hazzard. Still am. But I decided, I'll just call me Bo. Take the Jim off. Too many Jims. And then that name Bo stuck from my grandma, which has been passed for a while, since probably the time I was 8 or 9 years old. So that's where Bo came from. And still, you'll see sometimes in some of the deals, Bo Butner III. Well, he don't exist. Bo doesn't exist, but it's James E. Butner III. So that's where that came from.
So did you ever put together a General Lee?
I have lots of cars and models that we've done as a kid. And, of course, the whole Halloween deal. When we wrapped the car. And that's a real funny story, too. That's back when we were on ESPN. And, of course, I had the flag on top. But, again, they come to me and they said, Bo, we're not going to be able to put you on TV with that flag on top. And I'm like, well, that's your choice if you don't want to. I'm not taking the flag off. So, anyway, they took it off. They even played the song as I was doing burnouts. But I tried to explain to them what that flag might mean to some liberal people. That was for me growing up and the good times in life. That was a fun time in life and funny show, great show, and it's a car show. And we was all about cars forever. So yeah, big General Lee fan still.
And as it turned out, you still wound up on TV.
Yeah, oh yeah, they played every bit of it. And I've learned that when they threaten me, and they threaten now I fight with them about Trump. So when they threaten me, if I go rounds, they have to show me. They can't blur me out. So I need to go rounds to be able to enjoy my life.
Well, you certainly do go rounds, no question about that. This year started off a little bit tough.
Yeah. Well, we tested in Orlando, had a little race there. In fact, the car wouldn't even start in the water burnout for that first round. So that was a bummer. We go to Pomona, didn't run so well there, get to Phoenix, and it was a complete disaster. And that's one of them deals where you should never win a round. I got to the final. I couldn't make it down the track until the final round. I don't know, you'll have those times, the ups and downs. And the year prior to that, I think I won the first 4 out of the first 5. And it would get to where you just smile because I actually remember Gainesville, Randi Lyn wins Saturday night because they ran the Sportsman the day early to get it over with. So I had a lot to live up to anyway that next day. She let me know that. So Sunday, we're running good enough to win, but going to the final against Alex, and he breaks doing a burnout. And I remember at that time, they look at it and they do this, which it's a great feeling, especially in the final round. And I just started giggling to myself. I'm like, this is one of them days or years I just got to show up. And you have times like that. Then we went on to win Vegas, the 4 wide, and then we win Virginia. I was like, holy cow, this is unbelievable. So, and then of course the bottom falls out and become normal again. So it's definitely it's a humbling sport. It's been a lot of fun. I enjoy it. KB, Ken Black, Judy Black have treated me like family. I mean, from day one, and I'd always say that's the only people I'd ever run pro stock with. So the guys at KB Shop, Greg and Jason, they become like 2 older brothers to me. We still talk daily, all of us. Jason's going to hang it up, which good for him, honestly, because he's got some great kids. Jack, his son, actually works on my team when he can get out of school. Great kid, learned a lot. And when he's not working on my car, I see him sitting inside, letting go of the clutch pedal. I mean, for hours. Just he's ready to race. So I wish all of them well, and who knows what's going to happen in racing, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure. But it's just been a great life for. They have an American dream. If you drive down through New Albany, I've got a picture of my dad on a billboard, because to me, he lived the American dream. Started and he worked his way up. Well, I kind of did the same in racing. Started with Sportsman stock. Started right over in Ohio Valley with a trade-in. I took off this lot and went up and won a world championship in the pro series in pro stock, which to me is the highest level I'd ever want to be in as a professional in pro stock. But it's just an American dream. You can't ask for any more.
So if you think back to your dad, was he still with you when you started racing pro stock?
No, it never. Probably he died in 2010. And I started, I think, maybe 14 or 15. But, I mean, started with Greg and Jason. Had another engine builder at the time, running comp, as at the U.S. Nationals, I remember. And I never knew Jason or Greg. I mean, watching them, of course. And the engine builder and myself kind of had a dispute. I didn't think I had the right motor or wasn't as fast as I should be. And kind of made a rude comment to me. And Greg was pulling up to go make a run. And I didn't know him. I mean, he might know who I was, but I said, hey, you ever consider doing any other engines? I mean, like, it's like do my comp program. And being Greg, I never thought of that, because they really have never done any outside stuff. They helped maybe with a Hemi or something before, but got a relationship started going there, and they started doing a couple of just taking my old engines, trying to make them better. We won a few races. I doubled up in Vegas that year with comp and stock, and got runner-up the next week in Pomona. So we had good stuff. And then the next year, I get a hold of Jason, and I said, you know what? I'll take that back. My father passes, but before my father passed, he always says, whatever you do, you've raced a lot of classes, don't ever have a pro stock team. I don't want to see you spend that much money. It's a waste. I mean, so with that being said, I've never had a pro stock team, okay? And I've never owned a pro stock part. I do own a tractor trailer. I mean, I own my own stuff there, but when it comes to tires, gas, clutch, car, that's all KBs. I own nothing. So, yeah, there's always a gray area. And now that I see it, yes, it's very expensive, and just the travel alone and the crew. But the time away you are from your family and business, I think that's probably what he was more talking about than the actual money. So I understand that a lot. And I enjoy it, had a good time. I feel like I try to balance out time at home and that, because we travel a lot. But you'd also remember when I'm not racing or here, like I'll leave Sunday to go to Florida and I need to buy cars. Or I might go to Connecticut to buy cars, or I might go to Oklahoma. Just, you don't know, just wherever I can buy cars. So I'm not physically here much at all. And it wears on you. It wears on you. I'm used to go, but it wears on you missing your family and being around, because they're not here forever. And then I found that out with my dad. And we was over in a very healthy man. He never smoked that I know of, or drank, and ate good and always in good shape. And he goes to a checkup, and he had me run with him. And my mom was with us. They said, hey, we need to talk to you over in Louisville. Just regular checkup. Probably some health. He always bought life insurance. So probably some insurance checkup. They come and they said, hey, we got news for you. We found some spots on your liver and maybe your lungs or something, all in that area. And he's like, really? He goes, okay. Because he felt great. And then it got to be in that same day conversation of, well, you might have 2 to 3 months left. And we all just kind of look around like, there's something messed up. And he was like,
Right.
but this is the way he was. He's like, well, I've had a good life. I'll live good. And he was 77 at that time. But like I say, in very good shape. He looked at me and they said, well, you can try some treatments. And we're still blown away. This is all happening like in one day. And he's like, no, I don't think I will. Well, I talked to him, hey, let's try it. What we got to lose? Because I don't really believe it. You know what I mean? You're too healthy. You look at you. You don't feel bad. And so we did 1 round of treatments. And I stayed home. But I don't think I hardly traveled at all. Stayed home with him. And luckily, he got to stay at home, but we'd take him to get his treatments. Got to a point to where, of course, after your first round of treatments, hey, it's getting better. You hear that. Well, within a week, then you get a call, yeah, it's not working. So that's when he looks at me and says, you know what? I've lived a good life. And got to be with him. I think he lasted maybe another 5 or 6 weeks. But I was actually at his house up there. He built a house right next to my race shop. And got to be with him as he passed. I was there 3 days straight. And I looked back because I had been sober for 3 weeks then, or 3 years then. And I mean, I was wild. I mean, I did a lot of bad stuff, tore up a lot of stuff, cost him a lot of money. And I really believe maybe it was more peaceful for him to know that maybe I have tried to straighten up. And he thought, well, maybe he'll get his head on his shoulders and make the business go, because this business isn't for us. It's for our customer, our families, and our employees. I mean, we can walk away and be happy and live fine, but we have to keep everybody else. And me getting older, I see that. But I think he maybe went peacefully that way, and I was holding his hand when he took his last breath. And what's funny is I'll go to a racetrack, because he would go to all the national events with me. And he'd always like to stay in the same area every race. Or if he's in Chicago, he's over here. So there's times I still look over that way, even when I'm at a track today, feeling like maybe he's there. And I just hope that he's enjoyed watching me race wherever he's at, or however he's watching. And I hope he's proud, and I hope he's not mad that I am running pro stock, honestly. But I can think that he probably thinks that, for one, we made a good business decision by the deal I've got with it. And also, we were successful with it. So, but there's more to life now.
Well, tell me a little bit about your racing background. You said you started at Ohio Valley with a car you took off the lot, but there's a lot of progress in there, including a world championship in the sportsman categories.
Yes, we actually, I had never in my life been to a drag strip. Never even watched them. Didn't care nothing about them, other than I was street race down here in high school, which we all would play around. Nothing fast, but actually it was here, I was graduated out of high school, and a guy ended up being my friend named Chris Llewellyn, had I think it was a 71 or 72 Nova. Pretty fast little street car around here. Well, he got married and going to have a kid. So he needed a dad car. So he brings his Nova in, and we make some type of trade. A little small block car would run, I don't know, it'd probably run in the 8th and the 8th. Little pretty decent street car for back then. We took it, and my brother-in-law at the time, which has since passed, in fact, he started racing the day I did with me. Lived over here on the street, and I'd take it over to Ohio Valley one Wednesday night. And they always had like a grudge race. I'd never, ever been on a drag strip or staged or anything. So I pull up, and radio on, window down, arm like this. And the starter said, hey, they stopped me as I staged him. They said, hey, you can have your radio on and stuff, but you need to roll the window up to go down the track. So I didn't know nothing. Well, come to find out, some way, some lucky how, I win that grudge race. First time ever. I'm like, oh man, this is cool. You know what I mean? It might have been 3 or 4. I don't know what it was. Nobody knew me. I didn't know anybody. So I decided, hey, we need to put a roll cage in this. I need to go faster. So my brother-in-law, we did a roll cage. In fact, a place called R&R Chassis in Louisville, they're still here. I think Donnie Fuller's his name, or Rick Fuller. They put the chassis in it. Then we had to have a transmission. Then we had to have a converter. So that's when, you know how you inject a needle for a drug addict? That was it. And then I played around with that for a while. You probably know the name Bohannon's. Mm-hmm. Charlie, Joey, and Big Charlie was her dad. They had a bracket car. I also decided, hey, this thing goes like 6 O's, like an 82 Camaro tube chassis car. That's me. So made a deal, bought that, raced it for a little while. Then I ran into a guy by the name of Bill Felker. Bill Felker was NHRA. He might have won championship, won some national events back in the day. Always known for big block Chevys. He had a '87 Olds Cutlass back when Oldsmobile was real strong in sportsman racing for super stock. He had it for sale. So it was a small block car, and I decided, hey, I like to run some NHRA stuff. I had been racing for maybe a year. Get a deal with him, purchase his car, big wheel stands. That was the coolest thing. Dragged the back bumper. Oh, I'm hooked again. Well, come to find out that I didn't know nothing about engines or nothing like this. So we worked out a deal with Bill and actually hired him. He hired him out. So that was my first deal. We ran IHRA. Never went to an NHRA race. Go to my first IHRA national event and get runner-up in a class called Modified Eliminator, which all it was like comp but dialing in. And should have won the final, but I didn't know you should lift because I'd let go and hang on and he would dial it. So I break out by something crazy and the guy had like a 300 light. It was horrible. So very next race I go to Tri-State, Ohio. Is it Hamilton? I think, is that right? Same place?
Right.
Yeah, they have grass in the middle. I get in the final, I get beat. Again, this is my second race. This is 2 in a row. Guy comes up right across the scales. I automatically win. So I'm like, man, I have really messed up. I should have been a professional racer a long time ago. I'm just winning all the time, right? And then again, reality hits. So you get hooked, and Felker stayed with me for a long time. Built a new F.J. Smith Achieva. Then we started running some NHRA stuff. And at the time, IHRA, they were all families, but everybody got along. But I didn't know very many in NHRA. So we built the Achieva, and I'm running for the World Championship in Modified Eliminator at that time, I think in '96. And I think to this day that I am only the guy in history. Bill talked me into going to Indy. Well, at the same time that weekend, there was a points meet in Kinston, North Carolina for IHRA. Now this is an IHRA points meet, and I was chasing the world. So I'll just go there and I'll run class, and then I'll leave and go to this IHRA points meet, which is I didn't know how big the U.S. Nationals was, you know what I mean? So, and how hard it was to even qualify. I go there and I win class, had a modified car, and go up and I remember Danny Rossi from way back then. I said, listen, I'm not going to make the race. And, well, what's wrong? I'm like, I've got to go. I'm racing for a world championship in IHRA. And got the weirdest looks you've ever seen in your life, because at that time, I had no idea how big NHRA was. And do I regret that? Absolutely. Because for one, I flew, my crew drove, I met them. I go up there, and at that time, you could kind of chase people up first round you wanted. Well, kind of went up there and chased my guy, and I red light by 1,000, first round. So I'm like, oh, but still, all that stuff you look back on, how crazy it seems, but it made us what we are today in return. So I got to meet a lot of people and appreciate that. So racing's been good to us, meeting a lot of people, happy. We can get in, if you want to get into, when I decided, hey, if I'm going to run this style car, and it was like a perfect storm, I need another engine guy, because these were modified comp style motors. And I decided I want to run comp. So that's when I got introduced to Jeff Taylor. And Jeff and I were friends after I started NHRA racing, because we both had modified cars. And then we had Willie Evans, which everybody knows. And we decided to go out west at the end of I think in '98. And I had a stacker trailer, and he had a pickup truck at the time. So I put my car in his car, and we went to Phoenix, and Pomona. I think that's how it worked at the end of the year then. And we actually, I think we raced each other in the final in Pomona, and I beat him. Yeah, I'm sure it was, because it was traveling together. Well, after that 3 weeks, we developed like a brotherhood, and I said, hey, won't you, at the time he was working in North Carolina with Charlie, his brother, and Charlie was a smart guy, good guy. But I talked him into moving, and he moved up here to Floyd's Knobs. We put him in my race shop. We had a dyno room. We had everything you could want. And I think he stayed up there for right at 5 years before he moved on and built a nice big place. So we had that time with Jeff, and Jeff and I together in '05 and '06 won about everywhere we went, it seems like, because he won the championship in '05, and I built this Pro Charger crazy car, and we won everything we went to with it, and I won in '06. So it was a good run between the two of us, and to this day we're still, Jeff has a lot of my respect. He taught me a lot, and what a racer he is. I mean, but he's just calm and laid back, and he's made this his living, which it's a lot of people's dreams.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people that can make a living doing this drag racing thing.
Yeah.
And
I think there's more people might have the coronavirus, honestly, than you can make a living doing drag racing. So
you're right.
That's small.
That's a small amount.
Yeah.
You've raced a lot of stuff. First of all, is there any category that you've not raced in?
Haven't run any alcohol stuff. Came really close, and good friend of ours, Jay Payne and Shelley, I've considered maybe hopping there, and Yanni Lindberg's a good friend of mine. He told me I could drive his. But I had no interest in that until I found out there's a clutch pedal on those. I'm like, well, that's cool, and them guys drive. I mean, that's driving. There's no straight hits. So that looks like fun. The dragster stuff, not too interested. When I announced my retirement, I was approached by NHRA and another team to actually drive a nitro funny car that next year, and was going to fly in and meet with the owner. And I got thinking about it, and I was like, man, my mom doesn't want me running 200 mile an hour. And that's kind of another deal to where if I can't be with a competitive team, I feel like I don't want to just go make laps. And I want to be able to have a chance to win. I don't want somebody's misfortune to make me win. So it's kind of that deal. And also, those things aren't if they're going to blow up, it's win. And I don't know how I'm going to take that. You know what I mean? Because, again, I've got a family here and a business that definitely requires all of us to be involved. So I think the Pro Mod deal got my license. I've ran one a few times. That was fun. But sometimes hopping in like this super gas car I purchased last year, or hopping in just a dragster and going over here to Ohio Valley to where it's kind of low key and just back to the roots of racing, a lot of that's fun.
Well, last year you were in a position where you were in contention for 3 different world championships.
Yes, that was something else. The shootout car I should have done a lot better in because we have really good stuff. And I probably failed this a few times. And then those things are so tough, so hard to not, if you want to run fast, you're going to tear stuff up. And I've learned that. So the super gas car was actually just an investment I made. I bought out a guy's stacker trailer, dragster, and I bought the whole package. Well, instantly I sold the trailer, ended up moving the dragster, and so I might as well take in fact, he delivered me the super gas car to Sonoma. And I'd never sat in it, and I really had never raced. I never raced anything like that. Never raced bracket race, really. I mean, we tried a few times here before, way back in my career, but I didn't know what delay boxes were. And so had a good friend, Kyle Seipel. He lives there. It was at his track. And he actually helped me that day. And we just kept knocking off rounds. And we ended up winning that event, which blows me away because that just don't happen.
First time
ever sitting in the car. And in fact, when they got there late. And I'm a Mickey Thompson guy, and it didn't have Mickey's on it. So I had to wait for them to open up so I could take it up there, and they threw all 4 new tires on it. And I made the first time running. It was fun. It's a very good car. That car's won a lot for a long time. I think Ron Erks won with it. Dave Conley used to drive it. It's an older car. So actually, Randi Lyn talked me into keeping it. So now it's actually at Russ Farmer's Race Tech, and he's doing like you would do one of these, complete frame-off restoration. Because it was such a good car. I looked into building another one, but why? I mean, the car works good. Let's just make it nice again. So it'll be ready in about 2 weeks. So yeah, we had a chance to win that, and that's all Randi Lyn because I think I went maybe 3rd round the next race, and I got a runner-up in Brainerd. I got runner-up in Bowling Green. I was like, holy cow, man, we got a shot if you do anything at all to win the road in that. But it was a good fun time. It's fun. Her and I got to get away. And any off weekend we have, went to Earlville, went to some places that we don't typically go. And just her and I to go away with a trailer and just a little trailer with 1 car. Usually I've got to take her car everywhere, and a motorhome. And we had a good time doing that. And it got me back to where, I started in this era, went to the pros. I'm going to probably end up in this era. And that's what I tell everybody. I'm a sportsman racer that's got a chance to run pro, but I'll end up right back there with those guys.
You touched a little bit on your wilder days. So go back into that part of your life and talk about, if you can,
Sure.
what was going on back there and how you've kind of come out the other side.
Yeah, alcoholism really isn't in my family. I had a wild uncle, like I stated before, but as in some people are, maybe it's generation, but and some people are self-made, kind of like this guy. And it was just from, I don't know if growing up, I was always around adults. I mean, my whole life. We lived in a little neighborhood, maybe one other kid. You know what I mean? So I was always around older adults. If I played sports, it was with adults. I did play some sports in school, but like after be with grown men and playing basketball and stuff. So that older style, but I was never raised to where you should drink. Like in high school, never had no issues. Never had no issues with anything. Just didn't always like to go, and I hated to get up that early. But I think I just developed into maybe being on the road. I can't explain it, and there's a lot of it I would do differently, I promise you. But I got married very young. I had my son when I was 17. So all that happened young. Don't blame any of that for my actions at all, but because we all still make our own decisions. But as time went on and as I got on the road more and got away from probably my family going, so it just leaves me and the crew. Well, then you go out, you eat, start drinking, and it leads to other things. It leads to probably some bad choices in life, which I made a lot of them. But I went through that spell and it just kept getting worse. Still, I was always, everybody tells me I was a good time. Never really got in trouble. Here local is the only place I get in trouble, believe it or not. And being all over the country didn't bother me much, but was very fortunate to have a blessed life. Could go do what I wanted. And to this day, I still say life was good there, but life sober is amazing. I mean, it's totally different, totally different, and gets to the point to where maybe some drugs get involved. And then you wake up one morning and the whole right side's out of your Escalade, and you're like, man, did I do that? And then something else missing or something, just a lot of bad choices. Get a DUI down here. Luckily, we have some family friends. They got it switched over to a PI. So, I mean, they get another DUI. At that second DUI, I'm like, man, I'm in trouble. I think something's going on here. But I also have 4 young kids. At the time, I was separated, but not divorced. Had my parents, and I go to them as soon as I got out of jail. Says, you know, and probably just to save my face, I probably need to get some help. Not really thinking maybe I have an issue, because to me, a lot of stuff with trust has to do with people asking for money. You know what I mean? So I said I'll try to. A dentist friend of our family got me into a place called Talbot, a little south of Atlanta. It's actually in Atlanta, but right across the street from the airport. So they got me in. My parents drove me down there, left me the car, and they flew home. Little did I know I was going to be there 16 weeks. So they take me in there, and they don't care who you are, what you got. You're all in there equal. And so I won't name names, but I was in there with a bunch of WWE wrestlers. For some reason, a bunch of Delta airline pilots. I think it's because they're across the street. A lot of doctors, but this disease, they call it disease, doesn't discriminate. I mean, it gets anybody, any and everybody. There's 80-year-old women in there. There's 14-year-old kids in there. And they're all in there for different reasons, and learned so much. But it probably took 4 to 6 weeks for them to convince me maybe I have an issue. Because the whole time I'm like, this is just a money thing. I mean, very expensive, and they make you stay in a little apartment with 3 other guys. You have to go everywhere together. Can't have any money. You have to go to the grocery store together. I mean, but at the time it seems stupid. If you don't set your alarm, you get in trouble when you leave. But they're trying to teach you normal life. I mean, it's really simple. And again, they build you up. Like I can remember being able to maybe have a home pass, or you can come home for the weekend and you're pumped up, working hard that week. They call you in a Friday, and you're supposed to leave Friday night. Yeah, you're not ready. And you're like, holy cow. But they're building you up to see how you react. It all makes sense now. And there's many times I call my mom and say, hey, get me out of here. There's a place in Arizona where they have private chefs, blah, blah, blah. But we stuck it out, and I definitely believe it saved my life, if not others around me, because I was very influential. I mean, when I was partying, you're going to party too. You know what I mean? We're all going to have fun. And I feel bad for if I affected any other person in that way. And I know a couple I could have, but I've since then tried to make up for it and try to help them. And still to this day, I get calls. And I put this story out. Kevin McKinnon did a long deal on my story. And I get a lot of fan mail and even other racers that maybe are struggling or having the same questions I had. And that's what keeps me sober today, is trying to help them and share my story with them and tell them, hey, it's not easy. I mean, you're going to have to work it, but it's also not that hard. Just make the right choice, and don't let it get to that point. And I'm very fortunate that that's happened to me. I really feel like, other than the cost, maybe everybody should have to go through something like that, because the first day I was there, you sit in a group of like 5 people, and they all start telling you their problems and issues, and the guy, the counselor said, listen, when you listen to everybody's problems, if you throw them all in the middle, all of y'all, in the middle of that floor, you're going to pick yours back up. It's not that bad. And he was right. I mean, there's some messed up people out there. I mean, they went through some bad stuff. So my 2 little DUIs is nothing compared to some.
You've always been pretty open about talking about this. Was there a time when you wouldn't have been so open? Were you ashamed of it or hide it?
Now, everybody kind of knew my reputation at the track. But like my parents didn't. Maybe they knew, but part of the step process is I did get to come home, and you're supposed to admit everything to people. So I sit and had to admit to drinking, and they, yeah, we know, we saw you, blah, blah, blah. Then I had to admit to doing some drugs, and that floored my mother. I mean, that's like the devil. I mean, I can't believe this. And my dad said, yeah, I know, just real calm, because you do know. Once you have been around it or seen it, and to this day, I'm sure my dad never touched a drug, but he's been around plenty of people that have. So you do know that, and you're not conning or hiding nothing, because absolutely, I'm a believer, everything comes out in life. No matter what it is, eventually, we might not be around, but it's going to come out.
How tough has it been to stay on track?
It's different times. You can always find a reason why to go back. I mean, I could be upset because it's raining. I need to have a drink. I mean, and I tell other people that. But I'm a guy that likes to think positive now instead of the worst. And I question a lot, even with this pandemic. I mean, with everything going on in life, you always question it. But I have many reasons not to. And it's always all around me. But no, I haven't had an issue. I still, to this day, I'll admit, I used to like Crown Royal. I used to drink the heck out of it. I was drinking a little 1/5 or a half gallon a night there at the end, every single night. And to this day, and it's been since 2007 since I've had a drink, I can walk past a store that has it, or walk right past it, and I taste it. It's really funny that you still get that, you remember the taste. And I've never tried it, but they say if I go right back to drinking again today, I'll start right back to where I ended. So when I walked into rehab, which I'm not skinny by no means now, but I weighed 50 more pounds than I do now. My liver was 85% shot. Blood pressure through the roof. I mean, just, you don't know it because you stay intoxicated or you're high. You don't know how your body is. Plus, I was younger. So from the time that started, I got on a workout program, tried to eat right. I got hooked up with some of these wrestlers that work out all the time. It went from all that to liver was 100% in 16 weeks when I left. Had lost 40-something pounds. Just a different guy. Thinking clearly like, holy cow, like this is a whole different world. A quick story on that. When I had this Pro Charger car, this was in the middle of all that. And Jeff Taylor still worked with me. Daryl Heron, he was still around me. We go test. As soon as I get out of rehab, go test this Pro Charger car in St. Louis. And I take off, about half track, shut off. They didn't say nothing to me. Come back around, make a run, shut off half track. And then Jeff, I remember Jeff looking at me and saying, dude, what's wrong? I'm like, man, this thing's a freaking monster. It's all over the track. He goes, man, it's making perfectly straight runs. I don't know what we can do any different. And I was like, I got thinking, that's really the first time I drove it in a sober state of mind. I didn't drive drunk, don't get me wrong. I never was drunk at the racetrack during racing, but I never had that that clarity that, holy cow, this thing's a monster. But it didn't register. So it changes your thought process like people would not believe. I mean, and I love people that can go out. Randi Lyn can go out and have a drink for dinner. We can go out with some friends and they have a couple, but that wasn't me. I'm not capable. I go till they run out. I mean, there's no limit. So there's a lot of people that are capable of doing things, but whether it's this business or it's drinking or whatever it is, I'm usually all in. So that's me.
Randi Lyn has to have been a huge influence on helping you get your life back on track.
Yes, she's. We probably didn't do the right thing the way I met her, because at the time I was married, so that's not the way you do things. I had 4 kids, but I don't. It's hard to explain. She's grown a lot through that time. She sure helped, but since then and me getting divorced and us moving on, still to this day she puts me in check. I mean, pretty much daily anymore, because I come up with some crazy ideas. But yeah, she's she can always look like the bad side that broke up a family. You know what I mean? But it was nothing. I mean, and I've had this talk with my kids and my ex-wife and all that. If it wasn't Randi Lyn or somebody else, you know what I mean? It was me. It's not anybody else's fault. So that's been a tough transition. She's just for her to be able to go through that, because she wants us to have a great family with everybody. You know what I mean? Because she comes from a good family. There are no divorces. Everybody gets along, which like her sister and her brother, they've not really seen that. So most families today aren't involved in it. You know what I mean? It's totally different. So we all want a good family, everybody to be happy. It's hard to get past certain things for certain people. So we still struggle with that today. But yeah, she is, still to the day has my back in anything. As she's getting older, she's getting, I don't call her mouthier, but she does give me her opinion a lot more. And I'm glad, because I want this as a team and not this is Bo's and then she's just there. So she's, if all goes well and we still have our racing schedule, like I hope, we're to get married November 2nd in Vegas. And like I've said, I've invited the whole world, and she's mad at me because there's no telling who will show up. But I mean, I hope this pandemic gets through, life gets somewhat back to normal, and we get through that, because down deep in my heart, she deserves her day and to be married. And we've talked about it for years, and I always would joke. I mean, I was like, well, you need to get to know somebody before you just jump into marriage. Well, that was 10 years ago. So yeah, she's right there with me and loves our business, loves racing, and loves cars. And people should know how hard it is to find a woman that's into those things. I mean, and understands them. And just like I said, again, I always had my back. If I tell her, hey, we're going to team with Kenny Kresge and have nitro fish, you're going to run it. Instead of her complaining, and it's a lot of work. I mean, she just sent out 54 orders online last week. There were some in Sweden, there were some everywhere. She does all that physically by herself. And I tried to say, hey, let's hire you some help. She don't want any help. She's the type that thinks you have to do it yourself, which a lot of people do, but she gets it done right, and I'm very fortunate to have her by my side for sure.
She's not just the regular racing wife. She doesn't lounge around the motor home. She's got that great Pontiac, and she can whip you on the drag strip too.
Yeah, she's rated right up there with the top winning sportsman women. But not only that, a lot of people don't know, she'll feed 40 of us any given day. She cooks for KB sometimes, and all the teams, Dave Kramer's team, and we all take turns, but she's kind of like the mom. But she is such a big spokesman for sportsman racing, period. I mean, she will voice her opinion, like I said, and many times NHRA has called her and got her opinion. She stands behind the sportsman racer and understands if it's not for sportsman racing, there is no NHRA racing. And we honestly believe that. I know NHRA knows it in their heart, and they love their pro deal, but again, there is no racing without sportsman racing, and you have to have the support and trust of them, I think, to continue on. So I think maybe they're moving that way. Let's hope so. But she does so much more than she can drive, and I'll put her in she's got an opportunity to drive anything I have, but she likes her Firebird. She drove the super gas car in Indy, had fun with it, but she'll tell you, I know my limitations, and I know what I want to do. So she's very capable of driving anything, I'm sure, but she does what she wants to do.
What would it be like to follow Bo Butner around for a day or a week?
Daily, it's when we're home, it's pretty simple. John Meany, good friend of mine, Mike Moran, these two guys from up in Michigan, they laugh at me to this day because I said my body has an alarm clock. And I'm serious. I really believe 7 o'clock, 6:55, my body wakes up. I don't care if I went to sleep at 4 in the morning. I'm instantly like I don't need an alarm clock. Works out good because I live here. Now, if I lived out west, I'd be in trouble. I'd miss a bunch over here. But it starts out doing that, jumping up, getting ready, and who knows when I might have to go to an auction in Evansville. I might come down here, might go to the race shop, might go to my service shop. Then there's another dealership. So there's really no telling, but like Randi Lyn will tell you, she keeps a bag sitting there, knowing at any time, like I might call her tonight and say, hey, we need to fly to Florida tomorrow. And she's getting older and enjoying home more, and her niece is coming down this week, so I can't drag her away. I mean, she's to the point now she enjoys family because we've been on the road so much, and she could probably tell you how many days we were at home last few years. It's nothing, less than a month that we actually sleep in our room. But just doing that and following me down here or following me at an auction. One good thing is it's hard for me to still recognize we have a lot of people watch racing. A lot of people, a lot of car guys. Well, everywhere I go, there seem to be a lot of car guys, whether it's auctions or anywhere I'm at, car shows. And to be recognized that the way people walk up and talk to you, in my head, I'm just ready to go buy cars or go look at old classic cars or whatever it is to make a deal. But they come up and they want to talk to you, and it's still amazing to me that they watch you. And they know something you might have said, or they know what kind of reaction time you had the last race. I mean, all that, it's still hard, or they want to take a picture in the airport. And it's just funny because I'm still the same guy. I feel like I am, but it's fun to take the time to talk to the people. Because again, if it wasn't for these people showing up at these races, we wouldn't have the NHRA. And I'm very blessed for that. Again, I don't know what's going to happen if I stop racing now and show up at a race 10 years from now. Do people want to recognize you? And then again, you ask yourself, who cares? I mean, what's it matter? You're here to have fun and race. And Daryl Heron, good friend of mine, been with me like 16 years, decided this year not to go pro stock racing. He wanted to spend more time with his family. He builds our super shootout cars, so he's still going to be involved in those. He just had a grandkid yesterday or day before, his first. So he's a little older than I am, but he's realized that the family thing and this whole reset button has showed us something that there is more. And again, he comes to me every season. You gonna run pro stock again? I'm like, well, I don't know, maybe, probably. Why? You've already did everything you need to do. You won a championship. You did this and did that and won plenty of races. Don't you enjoy just being home? And then I get talking to my good friend Jason Lyn, and he's kind of the same boat. Luckily, he's doing it now while his kids are still young, so he can go enjoy and do that. But you do sacrifice. Your family sacrifices more than you do. And again, to be a decent racer, it sounds bad. You have to be a selfish son of a bitch, honestly, because you care about whatever it takes to get. I don't care if it's a $1,500 bracket race or it's $250,000 to win the World Championship. Whatever it takes to do that, winning, not answering your phone. Not you know what I mean, whatever it takes just to focus to win that one round. And that's sad to say. There's a few guys that are competitive and they do well, but they also give up a lot. I mean, I think of David Rampy, good friend of mine, very religious. I mean, he just a calm dude. He's had to give up a lot and sacrifice a lot, and his family has, for him to win what he has. Talk to him, and he's great. I mean, he's got it going on. Dan Fletcher, now he starts to carry his family with him. So all these people that have been very successful, to start out, they gave up everything. I mean, Fletch quit his job to go race sportsman racing full time, and I think he had a pretty good job. So that's a big step, but you really jeopardize a lot, I think, family and personal side to be able to do that. So yeah, but again, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But I know I'm going to wake up at 7 o'clock, sometime close to that, and I'll be down here selling cars or something to do in automobile business.
So in hindsight, was all of that sacrifice worth it?
You know, I don't know. I really don't know. Have I been successful on the track? I think I have. I'm happy. If I'm ever win another round, I can't complain. I won't keep doing it, but I'll do something different. But there's things I would probably have done different. Of course, you always look back and you handle certain things differently. But then again, maybe that made you what you are today. So I don't know the right answer to that. Someday, somebody upstairs will let us know. I'm sure we're graded, so we'll know how we ended.
Are you still having fun when you are out there?
Yeah, it's fun up to the point to where if Randi Lyn comes to me and stressed about the t-shirt trailer, or she's stressed about got to feed the guys, or boat costs $18,000 to get out west this year because we do 3 trucks. I mean, if that stuff starts stressing her out, it's not as much fun. And because I'm going to have fun hopping in that car and letting go of the clutch and making that run. I'm going to cut up. I'm going to go talk to fans. That's what I do. Her deal is kind of like a job. And don't get me wrong, she would love to sit there in high heels and be your typical pro wife. And she says she would love to be a trophy wife. But I know better. She wants to be involved, and she's nothing if not more than a racer than me. She loves to race, loves to go up when we're finished running pros. Can't wait to get up there and watch the rest of Sportsman Racing if she's still not in. We're up in the stands watching. And but we have such a support from the Sportsman fans for that. And again, that's just who we are. It's not a put on. It's not an act. We actually enjoy it. So yeah, I'm still having fun. Do I miss it? Yeah, it's been a long time. But I've also missed this. So there's always a balance in life. And I tell my oldest son this. It's hard to make everybody happy. But you just, first of all, if you're not happy, nobody around you is going to be happy. So that's what we try to work on.
If you were able to, what would Bo Butner of today go back and tell his younger self before everything he went through? Or would you even tell him anything?
Well, for one, that younger Bo Butner would have tried to con the new Bo Butner into, hey, this is what we're going to do today, or this is okay. I don't know. There'd be a lot. Of course, I'd spend more time with family, without a doubt. But as we get older, you know that. Especially when my youngest kid is graduating next Thursday from high school. I'm like, holy cow, where does that go? I mean, I have no more kids in school. I mean, he'll go to college, but no more kids in high school, which blows my mind. I mean, I'm 45, so I'm fairly young to have 4 kids out of school. But if he's out of school, as long as I get to be in his life and we're still together, that's great. I mean, that's the part I work on the most now, is trying to keep that balance. I'm sure they've had different times where they're proud of my racing, but there's probably a lot of times where I missed out on a lot of their life. In fact, I know there's not probably, there is a lot, that I would go back and maybe change and try harder. If I'm capable of doing it, I should have got home more. I mean, a lot of times we would go to a race and stay out between weeks and not come home. And that's not good for your family, and definitely not good for business either.
You've had the opportunity to do a whole lot of things in life. Is there still something on the bucket list, or something that, man, I'd really like to go do this thing?
You know, actually, this sounds funny. We travel a lot. So travel is not big, but there's probably a few places I like to travel. I don't really know where, but just seeing this business grow, maybe add another lot, then add another lot. Just something. There's goals I've got to wake up to, and I think we all do. People that have nothing to do, which I don't know why, or that's not good. I mean, you have to wake up feeling fulfilled for the day. Like, hey, if I wash this car off, I'm going to feel good about it. I'm going to show somebody. But if I sit at home and listen to everybody whine on TV, it's a total waste. So living life, I say, and trying to help others. I mean, any way we can try to help another person, to me, is safe and good for me.
Your dad's picture is up on a building downtown. Do you envision yourself up there alongside him?
Never. I don't need to be beside him. I'll be under him, because I know for a fact, if it wasn't for that man and what he did and what he put himself through, that I'm not saying I couldn't be successful or wouldn't be in where I'm at today, but it would be very hard. And I still have my mom. And I think my mom's, if you go inside our lobby in here to our payment office, I got a picture of both of them engraved, because I believe behind that man was a great woman. And it takes that great woman to keep that man in check. And hopefully this one I found of Randi Lyn, this time I've got here, will be the one. And I feel like I'm very fortunate for that. And we'll get married, move on. We might be at a racetrack. We might be down at Florida on jet skis. Who knows? But whatever it is, we enjoy being together. And spending time together and spending time with your family is what I want to be known for now, more than making money or being a champion. So just being the right person.